The apartment that wasn't on the list. I never thought much about the building. It was old, sure, built in the late 70s, judging by the concrete smell that crawled out of the stairwells and the ugly brown tiles glued along the lobby walls. But I'd been a maintenance worker for long enough that places like this didn't bother me. Old pipes, flickering lights, jammed elevators, nothing new. At least that's what I believed at the time. Back then, my shift always started at 4 p.m. and ended at midnight. I preferred nights. Fewer people, fewer complaints, and the silence helped me focus. The building itself was 21 stories tall, but I rarely went higher than the 10th floor. Most of the problem apartments belonged to college kids or retirees who kept their places like museums. But things changed on a Wednesday, and it all started with a single work order. The first request. At 6:40 p.m., I got a notification on my work tablet. Unit 14B electrical issue. Lights flickering. Nothing unusual. Except, there was no 14B. Floor 14 didn't have lettered apartments. The whole level was designed as luxury duplex suites. 1401, 1402, 1403, and 1404. No letters. Never had them. I double-checked. Then triple-checked. For units all accounted for. No 14B. I assumed it was a typo, so I called the front desk. Marina, the evening receptionist, answered in her usual bored tone. Yeah. Hey. Got a work order for 14B. You know anything about that? A moment of silence. There is no 14B, she said. Probably someone submitted it wrong. Yeah, that's what I thought. I paused. Who sent it? Another pause. I heard her tapping a keyboard. It doesn't say. No resident name attached. That's weird. System glitch. No idea. Just ignore it. But something about her tone told me she didn't fully believe that. Anyway, I shrugged it off and moved on. Plenty of real work to do. If only I had ignored it completely. If only I had deleted it. The elevator ride. Around 8 p.m., I got another notification. Unit 14B urgent. Please come. Lights out. This time the text was different. Shorter. More direct. No automated formatting. It looked typed. Manually. My stomach tightened a little. Not fear exactly, but curiosity mixed with that quiet discomfort you get when something doesn't add up. I pressed the elevator button. It opened instantly, as if waiting for me. The ride felt longer than usual. The old cables hummed like they were straining, carrying the car upward floor by floor. 9, 10. My reflection in the stainless steel doors looked oddly stretched, like the warped funhouse mirror effect. Maybe just the bad lighting. 11, 12, 13. When the display hit 14, the elevator slowed, then stopped. The doors slid open. The hallway was darker than usual. Not pitch black, but the lights overhead flickered weakly, like they were struggling to stay alive. I stepped out. The air was colder, noticeably colder, like stepping into a walk-in freezer compared to the floors below. The floor had 4 apartments. Just 4. Exactly as it always did. 1401, 1402, 1403, 1404. No 14B. I was about to turn back to the elevator when I noticed something strange. The hallway felt longer, as if there was more space between 1401 and 1402 than before. A stretched corridor. Subtle but wrong. And then, at the far end of the hall past 1404, I saw it. A door. A door I had never seen before. Unmarked. Dark brown. Old wood. No apartment number at all. A small golden peephole glinted in the flickering light, and a faint strip of warm light leaked out from underneath the door. My heart rate kicked up. This couldn't be real. There was no door there. There had never been a door there. Yet, there it was, knocking on the door. "Hello," I called out. My voice echoed strangely, like the hallway was bigger on the inside than it should be. I approached slowly, step by step, my boots tapping against the carpeted floor. The closer I got, the more details I noticed. The frame looked older than the rest of the floor. The wood had scratches, long vertical scratches, like something had dragged across it. The golden peephole wasn't centered. It sat slightly too low, and the light seeping out from underneath the door flickered softly, like candlelight. I hesitated. I should have gone back, reported it, pretended I never saw it. Instead, I raised my hand and knocked. 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. No answer. I leaned in closer, and that's when I heard it. A whisper, right behind the door. A woman's voice, soft, hoarse, strained. She said one word, "Come in." My blood turned cold. I stepped back immediately. "What? Who's in there?" I called out. No response, just silence. Then, the doorknob turned. Slowly, deliberately, like someone on the other side was twisting it inch by inch. I froze. The knob clicked fully to the side, then stopped. The door didn't open. It just stayed unlocked. Waiting. I took one more step back. Nope, not doing this. Not alone. I turned, heading fast toward the elevator. I pressed the button. The lights flickered again overhead, brighter this time, almost buzzing. The elevator took longer to arrive. Too long. Behind me, a soft creak, like a door slowly opening. I didn't look. Not once. When the elevator finally dinged open, I slipped inside, slammed the close button, and didn't breathe until the doors shut. As the elevator descended, I made a promise to myself. I wasn't going back to the 14th floor. Not alone. Not for anything. But of course, I would go back. Because the next night, the work order appeared again. And this time it said something different. 14B, you saw the door. Come back. The door that shouldn't be there. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the hallway on the 14th floor. Dark, silent, untouched by time. And that door, that impossible door with the rusted peephole staring at me like an eye that had just recently blinked. The next morning, I told myself it was just fatigue. People hallucinate from exhaustion all the time. Maybe it was a storage room. Maybe I misread the numbers. Maybe, no, I wasn't that tired. And the door opened on its own. That wasn't something exhaustion could explain. Still, I needed proof. At 9 a.m., I grabbed the master keys again and took the elevator up. When the doors opened, the same dead air hit me. Heavy, unmoving, colder than it should have been. A pressure that didn't belong in a building filled with people. The lights flickered once, then steadied. I turned left toward the wing where the apartment should have been. Step by step, I made my way down the corridor, my boots echoing in a rhythm that sounded too loud for such a narrow space. When I reached the spot, my stomach went cold. The door wasn't there. Just a smooth, seamless wall. No number. No hinges. No marks. Not even dust disturbed where it should have been. I stared at it, waiting, hoping for something to happen. Maybe the outline would appear again. Maybe the peephole would blink back into existence. Nothing. I lifted my hand and pressed the wall. Solid concrete. I even knocked. It sounded hollow. That was somehow worse. I checked the janitor's logs later. 3 times. 4. And again during lunch. Apartment numbers went from 1407 to 1409. There was number 1408. There never had been. And yet, I saw it. And someone or something opened it. I didn't tell anyone. Not yet. They'd think I was losing it. Maybe I was. But at around 3 p.m., as I was repairing a broken light panel on the 10th floor, I heard something that froze me mid-screwdriver turn. A knock. Not near me. Not on the 10th floor. Through the ductwork, reverberating like a heartbeat traveling down steel ribs. A knock coming from above. From the 14th floor. 3 slow, deliberate hits. Bam. 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 Followed by a sound even worse. The faint metallic creak of a door hinge opening. I dropped the tools. I shouldn't go, I told myself. I absolutely shouldn't. But my legs moved before my brain could stop them. By the time I reached the staircase, something else happened. Something that made my throat tighten. The lights in the stairwell were all on, except the ones between the 13th and 14th floors. That entire level was swallowed in darkness like the building itself was trying to warn me away. I climbed anyway. Halfway up, I heard breathing. Not mine. Not human. A slow, dragging inhale, as if someone was smelling the air right on the other side of the darkness. I froze. Every instinct screamed at me to go back. But I didn't. I pushed up the last few steps until I reached the landing. My flashlight flickered violently as if something was interfering with it. And then, light, from the corridor. The door was back. 1408. Standing there like it never vanished. But this time the door was open. Wide open. And inside, I saw nothing but a black hallway stretching far deeper than any apartment should go. At the far end of that darkness, I thought I saw movement. Just a shape shifting slowly. Too tall, too thin, too wrong. Then a voice came out of the hallway. A whisper that scraped across my skull like nails on glass. You're late. Inside the apartment that doesn't exist. The whisper didn't sound like it came from a person. It slid through the hallway, thin, metallic, almost hollow, like it was spoken inside a pipe. My body reacted before my mind did. Cold sweat, locked knees, lungs refusing to work properly. But the worst part? It didn't sound surprised to see me. It sounded expectant. I aimed my flashlight toward the open doorway. The beam barely penetrated the blackness inside. It was like shining light into ink. No reflection. No depths. Just pure, suffocating dark. Hello. My voice cracked, and I hated how small it sounded. No answer. Only the quiet hum of something deep inside the apartment. A vibration more felt than heard. Every instinct begged me to run, but something else, curiosity, fear, maybe stupidity, made me step forward. 1 foot across the threshold. The temperature dropped instantly, like I walked into a freezer. The air was thick, heavier, like it had a weight of its own pressing down on my chest. The hallway inside was longer than any apartment could physically contain. Narrow walls that seemed to stretch into infinity. The floorboards creaked beneath my boots, not from weight, but as if they were slowly exhaling. After a few steps, the door behind me slammed shut. I spun around, grabbed the handle. Locked. I rattled it harder. Nothing. My flashlight sputtered again, dimming to a sickly glow. Then the bulb stabilized, but now the hallway looked different. The wallpaper, previously plain, was now peeling in long strips. Underneath it, the wall wasn't concrete. It looked like old, rotting wood. Damp, blackened. The smell hit next. Musty, moldy, like something long dead. I moved forward. The further I went, the narrower the hallway became, as if the building was trying to squeeze me out. The hum grew louder, vibrating through the floors and walls. And then, I found the peephole. In the middle of the left wall. Not on a door. Just stuck into the wall itself, like an eye embedded in flesh. Fresh wood shavings lay beneath it, like it had been carved out recently. Against every ounce of sense I had left, I leaned in and looked through it. First I saw nothing. Just darkness. Then something shifted. A shape. A head. But it was facing the wrong way. The back of it. Motionless. A cold breath slid across my ear from behind. Don't look at him. I jerked away from the peephole, heart slamming against my ribs. I spun around, shining my light down the hallway. Nothing was there. No person. No shadow. Just that impossible darkness swallowing everything beyond a few meters. But I heard footsteps now. Slow. Deliberate. Coming from deeper inside the apartment. Except they didn't match the rhythm of a normal stride. They were uneven. Vit. Like something dragging its feet. I backed up until my shoulders hit the wall. The footsteps grew louder, and then stopped. Something was standing just outside the range of my light. I raised the flashlight higher. The beam trembled. A shape emerged, too tall, back hunched at an unnatural angle. The head, it wasn't facing me. It faced sideways, almost brokenly rotated toward the wall. Limbs dangled like they were barely attached, elbows too long, wrists bending where joints shouldn't exist. Then it moved. not walking, snapping forward in sharp, twitching motions, like a puppet pulled by strings. It stopped just at the edge of the light. I couldn't see its face, but I could hear it breathing. Rapid, shallow, frantic, like it was excited. Then it whispered, voice scraping against itself, layered like several mouths speaking at once. He misses you. I didn't know who he was. I didn't care. I bolted, turning and sprinting down the hallway, shoving past peeling wallpaper that clung to my arms like wet skin. The hum grew louder, turning into a low roar vibrating through the walls. The floor seemed to bend under my boots like something was pushing upward from underneath. I reached where the entrance should have been, but instead of a door, there was now another hallway branching sideways. Another wrong angle. Another impossible space. Then I heard it behind me. Not footsteps. Crawling. Fast. Scraping nails tearing into wood as it dragged itself after me. I ran into the new hallway, lungs burning, legs shaking. The lights suddenly flickered. Once, twice, then everything went black. And in that absolute darkness, something cold touched my ankle. The things that live between floors. Something cold and bony wrapped around my ankle. I kicked instinctively, boot connecting with something solid. But whatever grabbed me didn't grunt, didn't hiss, didn't react like a living thing. It only tightened. Hard. I dropped the flashlight. It hit the floor, spinning wildly, its beams slicing the darkness in frantic arcs. For a split second, the light caught the thing holding me. It wasn't a hand. It looked like a joint, a knee, bent the wrong direction, jabbing up from the floorboards, as if a whole leg was sticking out from underneath them like someone was crawling inside the building's skeleton, and trying to pull me in. The wood beneath me bulged, stretching like fabric. Something moved under it, scraping, writhing, like bones sliding against each other. I clawed at the walls, trying to get leverage. The wallpaper peeled under my nails like old skin. The knee joint tightened its grip, dragging me inch by inch toward the floor. The boards began to crack. A long fracture opened, just wide enough that I could see an eye below the surface. Not human. Too glossy. Too large. Too hollow. I blinked. Stop! A voice whispered from behind me. I froze. Not because the voice was threatening, but because it sounded like a child's. Small. Apologetic. I turned slowly. The hallway behind me was dimly lit now. My flashlight lay on the floor, somehow still on, illuminating the space just enough to show a boy. A kid. Maybe 10. Standing barefoot, wearing an oversized gray shirt. His hair was messy, like he'd been sleeping. His eyes were dark. Not black, but sunken, as if he hadn't seen sunlight in years. He lifted a trembling finger. Don't fight it, he said quietly. If you fight, it hurts more. I didn't know what he meant, but I wasn't about to let a floor creature suck me into whatever nightmare realm existed under the boards. I kicked again, harder. This time the thing's grip loosened just enough for me to pull my leg free. I scrambled backward, pressing against the wall, trying to put distance between me and the cracking floor. The kid watched me with an expression I couldn't read. Sadness? Fear? Pity? You shouldn't have come here, he whispered. The floor behind him bulged. Something was rising beneath it. Fast. The boy stepped closer to me, hands raised as if to calm me. They're awake now, he said. They feel you. They know you don't belong. My voice shook. Who's they? The kid opened his mouth to answer, but a bony hand burst through the floor behind him, fingers long and sharp, grabbing his ankle and yanking him off his feet. He didn't scream. He just reached toward me with wide, terrified eyes as he was dragged across the boards, splinters cutting into his skin. Don't let them take you too. I lunged forward without thinking, grabbed his wrist. His skin was ice cold, almost slick, like holding a fish pulled from deep water. For a second I anchored him, but then another hand shot up, and another, hands that weren't shaped right. Too many knuckles, fingers bending in spirals, nails like broken glass. They clawed at him, pulling with unnatural strength. He slipped from my grip. Run! He screamed. his voice cracking with pure terror as they yanked him below the floor. He disappeared. The boards snapped back into place. Silence. Then a whisper beneath the floorboards. "Your turn." The hallway tilted slightly, like the whole building was leaning toward me. The walls pulsed, breathing shallowly. The hum returned. Louder now, vibrating through my ribs. I ran. Blindly. Panicked. Heart slamming against my chest like it wanted out. Behind me, the floor cracked open again. Then again. Then again. Multiple sets of hands clawing upward, crawling after me beneath the boards like a swarm. The hallway curved unnaturally, bending into a spiral that shouldn't have been possible inside an apartment. Doors appeared on both sides, dozens of them, slamming open and shut in a chaotic rhythm. Voices whispered from inside each room. "Stay. Come back. We're hungry." I kept running until I saw it, a faint light at the end of the hallway. A door. A real one. The entrance. It had reappeared. I sprinted toward it with everything I had left. The hands burst through the floor behind me, ripping chunks of wood upward, crawling faster than any person could run. I slammed into the door, grabbed the handle, twisted, and it opened. I tumbled into the real hallway of the building, crashing onto the carpet outside the apartment. The lights flickered overhead. I looked back. The door quietly closed itself. No hands. No boy. No cracks in the floor. Just a normal apartment door. Except there was a peephole now. A fresh one. And as I stared at it, breath shaking, something inside moved. Something with an eye, watching me. The apartment that waits. My entire body was shaking. Not from running. Not from exhaustion. But from the cold realization that whatever lived inside that apartment saw me. Through the peephole. Through the wood. Through the walls. I sat on the hallway carpet for maybe 30 seconds, trying to breathe, trying to make sense of what just happened. But the silence in the building wasn't comforting. It was expectant. Like the whole floor was listening. I forced myself to stand. I needed to leave. Immediately. But as I turned toward the stairwell, something felt wrong. It was too quiet. In a building this old, there was always some kind of ambient noise. Someone cooking, a TV on, footsteps, plumbing, the elevator hum. But now everything felt muted, like the place was buried under snow. I took 3 steps toward the stairs and, click, the sound came from behind me. I froze. Another click. Slow. Deliberate. Like someone unlocking a door. I turned back. The peephole on the unlisted apartment door was no longer dark. A faint pale glow shimmered behind it, like someone was holding a candle on the other side. Then something moved across the peephole. A shadow. A face passing by. No. An eye. The same wide, glossy eye I saw under the floorboards. Watching. Pressing close enough that the pupil distorted against the glass. My lungs stalled. My brain screamed, "Don't run. Don't turn your back. It wants you to." I took 1 slow step backward. The door handle twitched. Another step. The handle turned a little more. And then, creak. The door opened 2 inches. No sound from inside. Just a black rectangle of darkness where a normal apartment should have been. Then I heard it. A small voice, muffled, trembling. "Help me." The boy. The same boy who'd been dragged under the floorboards. His voice came from deep inside the darkness. Farther than a room should go. Farther than any building should extend. "Please, it hurts." My instinct screamed to run. But something else, something human, kept me frozen. He had tried to warn me. He had tried to help me. I couldn't just leave him. "Where are you?" I whispered. The darkness didn't answer. But something stepped forward. Not the boy. A foot.
Bare.
Pale. Thin. Toes too long, joints protruding like broken sticks. It pressed onto the hallway carpet, testing it, feeling the texture. Like it hadn't touched real flooring in years. The voice cried again, deeper now. "Help me. Please. Come find me." The thing inside took another step. The pale leg bent wrong, bending backward, joints cracking. A second leg followed. Thin. Wrong. It wasn't the boy calling me. It was mimicking him. I backed toward the stairwell as quietly as I could, but the creature heard the whisper of my shoe on carpet and jerked its head out into the hallway. It didn't look human. The skin was stretched like wet paper over bones. The eyes too large, too reflective. The mouth was small, lipless, and cracked, like it only opened when it needed to take in sound. And it was smiling. Not with joy, but with recognition. It knew me. It leaned out the doorway, its head twisting like it was sniffing the air. Then it whispered, in the boy's perfect trembling voice, "Please don't leave me. You're the only one who came." My chest tightened so hard I almost fainted. I took a step back, and the creature instantly snapped its head toward me with a speed that wasn't human. We locked eyes. It blinked. Once. Slowly. Then it took a long, spider-like step into the hallway. I bolted. Ran full speed toward the stairwell, nearly slipping on the linoleum. The door slammed behind me, echoing through the empty shaft. I took the stairs 4 at a time, heart jamming into my throat. Something crawled after me. Not footsteps. Hands and feet slapping the walls, the banister, the ceiling. Anything it could anchor itself on as it chased me downward. I didn't look back. I hit the lobby, crashed through the front door, and sprinted into the cold night air until my lungs burned. I didn't stop until I reached the far end of the block. Only then did I turn around. The 14-story building loomed against the night sky. One window on the 14th floor lit up. The faint, flickering, warm light, like a candle. Then another window lit up, and another, until an entire row of windows glowed with that same pale warmth. The wrong warmth. And in one of those windows, dead center, a silhouette stood, thin, crooked, head tilted too far to the side. Watching me, I backed away slowly. As I did, every light in that row flickered simultaneously. Once, twice, then all at once, they went out, except for one. The unlisted apartment. Its window glowed brighter, reddish now, like something inside was breathing against the glass. Then the lights began to spell something. Not letters, not symbols, but a pattern, a sequence, flickering in groups. I didn't understand it. Not then, but later that night, lying awake, replaying it in my head, the truth hit me like ice water. It wasn't a pattern. It was a room number. The room I had found. The room that shouldn't exist. The room that wasn't done with me. 1409. And the last flicker, the final glow, came from the window of that same apartment. Then, faintly, carried by the cold night air, from 14 floors up, I heard, "See you again soon." The hallway that followed me home. I didn't go to work the next morning. I didn't sleep either. I tried closing my eyes, but every time I did, I saw the hallway from the 14th floor. That pale, suffocating corridor that shouldn't exist, stretching endlessly behind my eyelids. I heard the knocking again. I heard the breathing behind the metal door. I heard the scrape of that unseen thing dragging itself closer. But worst of all, I kept seeing apartment 1412. The apartment that wasn't in the records. The apartment that didn't appear on any blueprint. The apartment that tried to pull me inside. By noon I convinced myself it was stress, lack of sleep, dehydration, anything normal. I reheated leftovers, pretended to eat, and sat on my couch trying not to tremble. But then something happened that obliterated every rational explanation I had left. Something stepped into my home. It started with the ceiling. A slow, familiar creak. Not loud, not threatening, just out of place. Because I lived on the top floor. There was no one above me. Yet something walked there, soft, shifting weight. Like someone carefully pacing in a narrow hallway. Exactly the way the flooring sounded on the 14th floor. The same rhythm. The same hesitant, dragging step. For a second, I genuinely thought I'd fallen asleep and was dreaming. Then, knock. Not from the ceiling. Not from the walls. From my hallway. 3 taps. Soft. Intentional. Coming from my front door. I froze. Not again. Not here. Not in my own home. I forced myself to stand, legs numb and buzzing. Every instinct screamed at me to ignore it, to hide, to pretend I wasn't home. But I knew, deep down, that it would only knock louder. It always knocks louder the second time. Knock, knock, knock. This time the taps came slower, almost patient. I approached the door, stopping a meter away. My breath fogged in the air. My apartment wasn't cold moments ago, but now it felt like someone had opened a freezer inside the walls. I placed my hand on the peephole, and I stopped, because there wasn't a peephole. There had always been one. I stepped back, then forward again. Then I realized something else. The door looked different, taller, narrower, the paint slightly off, the handle lower than usual like a child could reach it. No, no, no. This wasn't my door. This was the door from the unlisted apartment. Apartment 1412. Inside my home. I staggered back, heart pounding. My living room darkened, not because the lights went out, but because the walls felt farther away. Longer. The shadows deeper. I turned toward the kitchen. It wasn't my kitchen. Not anymore. The room had stretched, crookedly, subtly, the same unnatural geometry as the corridor leading to apartment 1412. I spun around, grabbing my phone, ready to call someone. My boss, the police, anyone. But the moment I looked at the screen, it slipped from my fingers, because the lock screen background had changed. It was no longer my usual photo. It was a picture of a hallway. That hallway, the 14th floor corridor with the flickering light, the peeling wallpaper, and the metal door at the end. Only this time the door was open. Not wide, just a sliver, just enough to see darkness inside. But inside the darkness, two pale feet were visible.
Bare.
Motionless, facing outward, waiting. I nearly vomited. I stumbled backward until my spine hit the wall. My phone lay face up on the floor, the image frozen there. But it wasn't just a still photo. Something moved inside the darkness. A hand, thin, angular, reaching toward the camera, reaching toward me. I kicked the phone away. Then the apartment whispered. Not a voice, a breath, right behind my ear. You left the door open. I didn't scream. I didn't run. I didn't even breathe. Slowly, too slowly, I turned. Nothing. Empty air. But the light in the hallway flickered once, twice. The exact rhythm from the 14th floor. That's when I knew. The apartment hadn't tried to kill me. It wasn't trying to haunt me. It was trying to bring itself with me. It wanted a tenant. And it had chosen me. I staggered into the bathroom. I didn't turn on the light. I didn't trust electricity anymore. But the faint glow from the hall gave me just enough visibility. My reflection stared back at me. Tired. Sweaty. Horrified. But then, it blinked. A fraction too late. Not like a delayed reflex. Like it was catching up. My knees buckled. Stop! I whispered. Stop it, please. My reflection tilted its head. Not me. Then, with that same delayed motion, it opened its mouth and said, silently, something I couldn't hear, but I could read its lips. 1412. I fell backward out of the bathroom, crawled, scrambled. My living room was no longer my living room. It had become a distorted corridor, walls stretching into impossible geometry, corners twisting inward like the building itself was inhaling. The wrong door, stood at the end, waiting. No knocking now. It knew I was coming. My phone buzzed. Once. I turned toward it. A new notification. Calibration complete. Floor 14 connected. What the hell does that even? The screen turned black. A new message appeared in white text. Center aligned. Welcome home. I ran. I don't remember grabbing my jacket. I don't remember opening the actual front door. I don't remember sprinting down the stairwell in socks, nearly falling 3 times. I didn't stop running until I reached the street. Cold air slapping my face like a shock back to reality. I didn't look back at the building. Couldn't. Because the moment I stepped outside, the power in the entire complex went out. Every window turned black. Every hallway light died. Except one. On the 14th floor, a single window glowed with a pale, flickering light. Right where apartment 1412 should be. And in that window, a silhouette stood. Tall. Thin. Still. watching me, just watching. I moved out the next day. I didn't collect my things. I didn't inform the office. I didn't even bother to explain myself. You don't explain something like this. You survive it. Or you don't. But the story doesn't end here. Because at 3:17 a.m. last night, my new apartment door, the real one, made a sound I will never forget. Knock, knock, knock. Not loud. Not threatening. Just patient. Waiting. The same rhythm. The same timing. The same slow, dragging breath afterward. I haven't checked the peephole yet. Because I already know. It won't be my hallway on the other side. It'll be the 14th floor. And the door at the end? It'll be open just a little. Waiting for me to finally come back.